back to the River City Roundup here at Jeffersons. Guys, after a crazy week of football, we move on to the next week. We'll recap our last week's games. We'll give our scores, our teams on bye, and then we'll preview our players of the week. Then we'll go into our upcoming schedule. Then we'll preview our game of the week. With all these upsets that happened, our game of the week, Hickson and Red Bank, for possibly the district championship right here. And then we'll, at the end of the show, do our pick'ems, and then I'll find some headgear to wear during the show. But guys, we're already at week 7 and 8 right now. Weeks around that. This season's just gone. It's been a roller coaster. Single Mountain gets beaten by Notre Dame for the first time. Tyner and Howard was just a high-scoring affair. Hickson and Red Bank are possibly going to win their district that no one called. Everyone thought East Ridge was going to do it. It's just incredible. And do you think this season has really lived up to expectations, guys?
Jake, I believe it's lived up to every expectation. It's high school football. Anything can happen, but the great thing is we're going to have a lot of stuff for the next couple of weeks that get us into playoffs, get some district championships crowned, and I think it's going to be an exciting couple of weeks. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some basketball tonight, but transition to basketball and wrestling this winter, and I think I'm just as excited as those seasons I was for football. How's the season been for you, Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it has surpassed every expectation I've had. We've seen some great football played so far. We've had some upsets. We've had some people show up that we didn't necessarily think were going to show up before the season started. So for me, all my expectations have been met. I'm just looking forward to see what happens next.
What about you, Ryan?
Oh, I've been loving it. If this season proves anything, it's that preseason predictions mean nothing. This season's been a wild one.
I know, and we all thought East Ridge was going to be. And, no hate towards East Ridge whatsoever, but
the injury bugs caught a couple of teams that you just didn't expect. Like Ryan said, preseason rankings, I had East Hamilton possibly winning that district, but a couple of injuries, and it's led to where we are now with Ottawa atop that district. But when we come back, we'll preview our players of the week. Also, we'll recap all the games and some surprises.
Welcome back to the River City Roundup. We'll give you some scores of last week's game, and like I said into our intro, a crazy week, and that leads into such a big week. But here we are with the score. CCS takes out Silverdale 39-0. Knox Carter, beats McMinn Central 7-0. Meigs County beat Lookout Valley 42-6. Notre Dame, after coming off an impressive win, they still look impressive, winning 49-0. Grace finally got that first win of the season. They beat Sale Creek 38-0. Red Bank and East Ridge, what really set up this game of the week. Red Bank beats East Ridge 14-7. Ray County beats Saudi Daisy 47-37 in a high-scoring affair. Central beats Brainerd 37-12. Ottawa cruises by Walker Valley 45-12. Cleveland beats Bradley 23-18. Marion County beats Copper Basin 43-7. Oakland and Baylor, a close one in Oakland. Oakland scores in the last minute. They win 17-10. Boyd Buchanan goes to South Pittsburgh and wins. They gets their second win in the row, 28-22. McMinn County beats East Hamilton 25-15. Brentwood Academy, with the biggest shocker of the entire week, beats the best team in the state, McCauley, 59-24. And Stone Memorial beats Sequatchie County 37-21. And our game of the week last week, Tyner and Howard. Tyner, with an impressive running game and forcing a lot of turnovers, they win 58-19. And Hickson and Signal Mountain, two of the better teams in the area, were on a bye week. But guys, what game really stood out to you? I mean, McCauley gets beat. Tyner and Howard's a high-scoring affair. Red Bank could win the district. What game shocked you, Ryan? What will go to you?
Well, obviously the McCauley game, but one thing that stood out to me is the Central and Brainerd game. Central's always struggled offensively throughout the season, yet they put up 37 points against a very talented Brainerd team to really put themselves back into the race in District 6 AA. There's a lot of football left. A lot of crazy things could happen. Central's sitting pretty at 2-2 in the district, and if their offense has finally started clicking, they very well could come out on top.
And for them to come out on top, they're going to need a lot of help. They're going to need, Tyner to really help them out. They need to beat Red Bank and Howard. I mean, Red Bank and Hickson and them. But John, who was the surprise to you this week?
Biggest surprise to me would probably be a team that I did pick to win. Boyd Buchanan over South Pittsburgh. Me and Taylor, we had a good conversation about that heading over here. Cooper Hodge was one of our players of the week this week. Accounted for 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 2 throwing. Also, Jacob Keebler had a really
Jack Keebler.
Jack Keebler had a very good game out of his tight end H-back slot. But for them to travel after coming off a win at Grace, travel to South Pittsburgh and get the win, that was a great win for not only the program, a rivalry, but also to boost some confidence going into a big game this week against Copper Basin.
What about you, Taylor? You're being the Boyd alum.
Yeah,
They got 2 in a row.
I'm very, very pleased with how they're playing right now. To echo what John said about Boyd Buchanan getting a very big win at South Pittsburgh. I was at McCauley Brentwood, and that was just a shocker from the beginning kickoff. But for me, the biggest thing as far as last week that I was surprised with is going to be CCS versus Silverdale. Silverdale not getting a single point, being shut out by a very good Charger team with Zach Mercer and some of the athletes they've got over there. But for me, Silverdale not being able to score a point offensively, struggling through a game, that was going to be my biggest shocker.
One thing that's noteworthy in that game is how CCS likes to pass the ball and throw the ball around. Mm-hmm. They didn't pass the ball in this game. I think they had 6 yards passing.
And something else to note in that game, Ryan, you tweeted out that Hunter Arnold, who we had on the show last week, was on crutches when Silverdale came out of the gate. Do you think they missed him quite a bit last week?
Oh yeah, they missed him. They missed him big. They struggled to run the ball. They struggled. CCS really dominated Silverdale up front. Is what took this game away. Silverdale just couldn't match CCS's physicality, and that led them to getting behind early, and they just ran away with it.
Like always, we care for the players here at River City Sports. We wish Hunter Arnold a speedy and quick recovery, but you got to give credit to Coach Spence, what he's been able to do in a short amount of time for CCS. And once you take notice to maybe some of those Chargers wins, maybe a couple quarterbacks might be looking to go play under Coach Spence, but they've got a good one in Zach Mercer and also his younger brother and who's coming up after Zach graduates. But what other games in the area, guys, that maybe had more implications than most would have thought for you? I would, for me, starting it off would definitely have to be the Red Bank East Ridge game that set up our game of the week. It would have to be, like we talked about today at practice, was 14 points and last week only having 7. What, guys, is another game that might really pop off the page there from last week's scores?
As far as last week, I hope you guys don't mind if I start off. As far as last week, for me, Boyd Buchanan, going up to South Pittsburgh, getting their second win of the season there, starting to get into a rhythm. Also, I hate to keep coming back to it, but Brentwood Academy just put a whooping on McCauley, and now District 2 AA is wide open. I mean, anybody can take the title there now. And before I was thinking, maybe it's going to be McCauley and everybody else, but that is definitely not the case right now.
Well, I think Ralph Potter's got a much-needed bye week. Like I said last week on the Roundup, and also mentioned on the main event, you can see that every Friday on 105.1 if you're within 60 miles of Murfreesboro. The Mike Mulder, our friend over there in Middle Tennessee, I told him it's hard for any team in the state to really get up 4 straight weeks to play Bowling Green, Innsworth, Baylor, a huge rival, and then come back and play Brentwood Academy. But they also travel down this week again to play Baylor. But I think Ralph Potter's got that bye week he needs, but he travels up to Father Ryan in 2 weeks, which our own River City Sports Zach Kirby insider will be traveling up there to cover that game. But, Jake, is there any other game on there really pop off for you, Ryan, another game that really pops off?
All right, you go ahead.
One thing that that strikes me as the Ray County and Saudi Daisy game, mainly for just the lack of defense that was played in that game. And I know Ray County and Saudi both have stellar offenses. Ray County running the ball and Saudi's passing attack led by Hunter Maynor. Ray County, they've gotten 2 very good quality wins back to back against Cookeville and Saudi Daisy, and right now it doesn't look like anyone's able to stop their rushing attack.
And Ray County, I mean, going back to Ray County, I don't think anyone here had them being undefeated at this point. I mean, I'd call you a liar if you said that you did. I'm telling you that right now. I know I didn't. I'm owning up to it. I didn't think Ray County was going to be this good. I mean, we watched them take on Ooltewah during the Jamboree, and they had some big moments, but they seemed to not be mentally there. But obviously, they fixed that, and they're undefeated in the.
And granted, they were playing the best team at 5A.
Yeah, they were. And that's another one. That's what I want to. I think a statement that was made was Ooltewah as one of the better teams in the area. I mean, they beat a Walker Valley team. Not a bad Walker Valley team. Actually, a pretty decent Walker Valley team. They beat them 45-12. I think Ooltewah is like, hey, we're the best team in the area. Strike that. We're the best team in the state. We deserve all this attention, and they do. They do. I mean, they've got one of the best defensive cores I've ever seen, and Kelvin Leon is throwing the ball like a madman.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think Ooltewah really has just shown everybody we're here and we're gonna take over.
I mean, guys, we talk about Ooltewah's defense all day, but their offense, no one's stopped them yet. Ever since Kelvin Leon's came in and cemented himself, him and all that receiving core they've got over there in Ooltewah.
Well,
They haven't been stopped yet.
Yeah, Ooltewah has not been stopped yet. It's great for them to get a bye. I know Coach Bryan was quoted early in the week as I spoke with him of he wishes they could continue playing because they're playing so well right now. But each one of you hit on games that actually had our players of the game in them. We keep or the players of the week. It keeps going back to Kelvin Leon and Hunter Maynor, both of them over 2,000 yards passing out, 21 touchdowns respectively. Leon's thrown a couple more picks than Hunter Maynor has. Hunter Maynor's got a little bit more accuracy and proficiency, but he's also only done it in 7 games, and Ooltewah has played 8. But like you said, you also have to go with Blake Smith off the Saudi Daisy Trojans as one of our players of the week. We mentioned Cooper Hodge and everything he did for the Buccaneers, but another real big name that to watch or that had a great game last week was our own buddy out of Red Bank. Was back to you, Ryan. Talked to Coach Grabowski earlier in the day. Trey Stamper, he had over 12 tackles, and the astonishing thing is 6 of them. So over half of his tackles were tackles for loss in that game versus East Ridge. So those are our players of the week here at River City Sports. We congratulate those guys. I know this coming week we'll have many more players of the week, but for right now to end this quiet segment, we're going to talk about the quarterback and receiver play of District 5 AAA. I know everyone of the River City Sports insiders have at least got to see or watch on firsthand through film or live some of the players that they have in 5 AAA. Talking about Hunter and Kelvin, what has really stuck out to you about those 2 quarterbacks this year?
The biggest thing as far as Kelvin and Hunter, guys in District 5 AAA, is their consistency. I mean, we kind of hinted on it last week. We hinted on it earlier in the show. We should just start clearing off a spot in our Players of the Week for Kelvin Leon and then just put everybody underneath him. He continues to do it every week. That Ooltewah offense is rolling, and guys, he's the guy. He's the guy at Ooltewah. He's going to get it done for him, and if they are successful, it's going to go through him.
Yeah, I mean, totally agree with that, Taylor. I believe some of their defensive players agree with that as well. Alonzo Blackwell was super excited when we covered the East Hamilton game. He was just jumping off the videotape because he was like, if the offense can get going and continue to get going, no one can beat us in the state. Now swinging over to some receivers, I know we got to see Jake, the Saudi receivers, the first game of the week. We also got to see those Ooltewah receivers. Mm-hmm. I know, Ryan, you covered Bradley a couple times and seen Tyler Carpenter. Mm-hmm. What is it about those guys, fellas, that's really stuck off the page for y'all?
I would have to say with Saudi Daisy, Trey Carter and Blake Smith and all them. I mean, they're the 2 of the most dynamic receivers in the area. And when you've got a guy like Hunter Maynor who's a good quarterback. Quarterbacks don't become great unless they have great targets. And look who Hunter Maynard's got in Carter and Smith. I mean, these 2 guys. I mean, I remember seeing him against Hickson. I mean, he just blew right by them. I don't think anyone can touch. Like, once he gets in open space, no one can bring him down because he's just blowing right by everybody. But, I mean, I would have to say Carter, and he's just a junior, and he's just a junior. And that's just scary because he's still got another year, and he can get even better and better. He's got nothing to do but to get better.
And I not to interrupt you, Ron. I think the attention Carter draws has gave Blake Smith the ability or the opportunity to get open at ease. Not, Blake Smith's a great talent, great athlete. He's any kind of receiver you'd want on his team. He's one of the first ones in the weight rooms, one of the last ones to leave. When we've covered him, Jake, multiple times, he's there with Hunter throwing after practice, throwing before practice. He wants to be a perfectionist at his craft. But, you got to give it up for Blake Smith. But the Carter's explosiveness draws a lot of the attention. And what do you like about those receivers in that district?
I mean, you just touched on it right there. You look at all these teams, Ooltewah, Bradley, Saudi. They don't have just one guy. They've got multiple guys that can kill you. I mean, you look at the lineup, and who do you key on?
Yep.
Who do you key on? Who do you say, we can't let this guy score? If you key on Trey Carter, Hunter Mander's going to go somewhere else, and you can't stop it.
And you also got to like the role players from those receivers, too. Like you said, a Levi Thornton, on there, the Saudi Daisy Trojans. But the two that we really got to mention, we haven't given them as much credit, is those receivers from Ooltewah, Edward Hayes and Anthony Turner. 2 weeks ago, this is something to keep in mind, guys, before we exit this segment, is 2 weeks ago, Edward Hayes had 200 more yards than Anthony Turner. And now Anthony Turner has 20 more yards than Edward Hayes.
Wow.
Anthony Turner kind of took it upon himself and was like, I'm the flashy one. I'm the one who scores the touchdowns around here. They kind of have an inter-squad competition among each other every practice. I know they get after it one another. And that's great to have on a team because if your best friend is also your biggest competitor at practice and also on the field, you want to one-up them not only because they're your friend, but also because you want the team to do better.
Yeah.
And I think Anthony Turner, who went down with a kind of a tweak in his hamstring a couple weeks against East Hamilton, or a small ankle sprain, I can't remember which one it was, but he's really come on the last 2 weeks. And when Anthony Turner gets going and Edward Hayes gets going, and that offense with Kelvin Leon chucking the ball, they're hard to stop. But you got if you're wanting to watch something on Friday nights, you're going to get entertainment when you see a Saudi Daisy or an Ooltewah play. Saudi Daisy will preview there in East Hamilton's game later. It's also Ooltewah's on a bye. But when we come back, we'll preview some basketball that's coming up in the recent area and tell you about some teams that we expect to be pretty decent, maybe some to surprise. Our own Zach Kirby will come on. He'll give you the insight and lowdown of basketball in the area. And then following that, we'll have our picks and our pick'ems, and we'll preview the games, and we hope to see you there. And also, whenever you're checking out River City Sports, always remember our followers and our proud supporters, which is Jeffersons, who allow us to come here every Tuesday, guys, and have our talk show, which is the Roundup. Also, Fame Media, who puts out all our videos and backs us and is our partner at every game of the week. But when we come back, we'll talk some basketball. We welcome you back to the Roundup. With me is our River City Sports insider, maybe our brilliant basketball mind, Zach Kirby. You can follow him at Zach Kirby UTC, right, on Twitter. He's going to give us all our basketball insight, also with some football. Zach, I know you're real excited. We've been discussing this for a couple of weeks, but man, it's kind of here. We finally got to interview a basketball coach yesterday. But how do you feel about basketball in the area, particularly just for this season, or even in past seasons, and what you expect this season?
I think this season is going to have a lot of surprises. When I say that, I think there's a lot of schools that had a big senior class that's now gone, so a lot of younger players are going to have to step up. You know, take, for example, Tyner. Tyner was a very good team last year. Coach Gerald Harris knows what he's doing down there. They had Sadiq Spence, who was a great point guard, Alex Watkins, their 6'6" center. Both those guys are graduate. They're gone now. So who's going to be the next guy to step up for Tyner? You know, I think it's personally going to be Kevin Cameron. He'll be a 15-year-old sophomore now. And the game that kind of sold me on him was his 28 points against East Ridge. You know, he's a sophomore, but he doesn't look like he's a sophomore. And I saw him a couple weeks ago. He looks like he's physically grown a lot too. So I think he's going to be a big contributor for their team.
Zach, even keeping it in that district, you know, Brainerd and East Ridge are real competitive. Howard is known to always have the athletes in that district to compete. What if you were to go ahead and crown a champion in that district? Do you have one yet, or is it just that wide open?
I would say that it would be a slim margin between Brainerd and Tyner. That's what I'd say. Howard struggled a lot last year in that district. They finished last. And so I think this will be another rebuilding year for them. I think they're going to improve. But I think it'll be Tyner and Brainerd, LeVar Brown, and Gerald Harris both coaching against each other, with Chattanooga Central being right there with Rick Rogers has a great program. His team's very young, so that's another year of experience for them. And also don't forget East Ridge, Coach John Goddard there. You know, it's JoJo Tillery. And so it'll be a good year. East Ridge is right there. They kept slipping up against Tyner last year, but I see them right there in the picture.
Yeah, Tillery kind of had a high ankle sprain coming out of this past week's football game, so we hope he gets healthy and we get to see him on the hardwood as well. We figured he's going to be listed as one of our heroes of the hardwood when we do that feature. So, I mean, it's going to be great for basketball. But I was able yesterday, Zach, two people that you really know, both the Dragoos coaches at CSAS. Got to speak with Zach Dragoo for a little bit and interview him. He's real excited about the girls program. Are there any other girls team, maybe outside of CSAS, that you know of that will be really good this year in the area?
Well, Tyner's always had a very good girls program. I remember they played East Ridge and they beat them pretty handily. But, I mean, I could see them doing well. And also, you know, don't forget about, I mean, even though I said they beat East Ridge also has a very good girls basketball program. You know, they were able to beat Hamilton Heights girls team, who's no slouch at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But talking a little bit about CSAS, you know, you're going to see the 5-wide motion from them, a 2-1-2 or a 2-2-1 or a 2-1-2 press from them. They feel that they've, you know, Coach Dragoo or younger Dragoo, Zach, with the girls, you know, last year it was a building year for them. And now they kind of understand the expectations that he wants to instill, and they're going to keep growing from that. And he feels that this could be the year that, you know, they were 5-2 in their own district last year with, but they ended up winning the region title. So, I mean, that was great for them, and I think maybe they can nick a Silverdale or a Boyd. Boyd's got a pretty good center that plays for them in the girls' side, but for the boys' side, they believe that it's state or failure. You know, I mean, that's what I got from the gist, that they want to be in the state tournament, and they feel they have a couple of players that I know you know firsthand, Josh Carter, that could really take them over the top. He's a kind of a swing player. Talk to us about his game and what he brings to the table.
You know, Josh Carter I would consider as a big guard. He's, you know, his size, he's about probably a solid 6'2", 6'3", maybe. Very solid build, but he can move the ball before he can dribble it. He can be your go-to guy if you need to break a press or anything like that. But he's also got a very good stroke. He can shoot the ball from the three efficiently. And, you know, he's a tempo guy. He can slow the tempo at a half-court set if need be. Or if you need to speed it up and go in full-court set, press, he's your guy. Also a very good perimeter defender as well.
Well, Zach, you know, we're going to get out and talk to some of those coaches. But let's talk about coaches maybe that have moved in different areas. I know at McCauley there's a new coach that they have that might be bringing that program back. I know that there's Coach Hill who's coaching under Westmore now at Notre Dame. He was at Signal Mountain last year. Has come over to assist at Notre Dame. Coach Westmore, me and him exchanged emails a couple of days ago, and he's real excited about the team. He feels if they stay healthy, they could really compete in the area and be one of those teams to beat in that district. But talk to me about some of the new coaches that you know of in the area.
Yeah, one team I got to cover a lot last year was Boyd Buchanan. Coach Cole Rose, I thought he ran one of the best offenses in the area. They knocked out CSAS in the district semifinal last year, and Boyd lost a lot of seniors this year and given up a lot of size too. So there's going to be new guys such as Cooper Hodge and Demarius Macon who will need to step up. But now their new coach is Zach Rottenberger. Don't know a whole lot about him. Our RCS insider Taylor knows him, for that being his alma mater. But their former coach Cole Rose left to become an assistant at Lee University. So I think this is going to be a new program, new look, and it'll be interesting to see what they're going to bring.
Well, besides that, who may surprise this year that you're feeling, or who may end up disappointing? I know we haven't got a complete coverage. We'll have complete articles up by our insiders and some previews of these basketball schools. But give me maybe one or two schools that you feel maybe surprised, and maybe one or two that might not live up to expectations.
I would say that my two surprises that I could see them improving drastically is Baylor and McCallie in that Division II, 2A. McCallie is John Shulman, former coach of the Mocs, collegiate experience. He's coached high-profile athletes. It'll be interesting to see him bring his offense to McCallie. And then also Baylor, they run an odd 2-3 zone that often gave a lot of teams trouble. It's kind of hard to go up against that. It's just kind of like that Syracuse zone that you can see.
Syracuse is so lengthy. Now we are covering high school sports,
Exactly.
but you got to admire Syracuse's length when they get out in that 2-3 trap zone that they have. But who might disappoint? But we don't want to throw anybody down or negative. But who might just disappoint that you might see?
I think Silverdale is going to have another rebuilding year. They struggled a lot last year in their district, but I think that I could see them getting a couple key wins, but I just don't think that this is necessarily the year. And then another one I would have to say would be Howard. That's a competitive district. Tyner, Brainerd, Central, Eastridge, all of them. I don't see them competing with
just
them
like
quite
in football.
Yet. Quite yet, I don't see them competing.
And I know, Zach, we've exchanged multiple conversations about a team that not many people are familiar with in this area, but maybe on a national scale people know them, but they got a pretty good players too. Tell us about Hamilton Heights and what they bring not only to the area, but maybe to the national spectrum.
Well, yeah, Hamilton Heights Christian Academy, they're a team that arguably is the best team in the area. I think they could beat just about any team in this district. They got a recruit, or he's being highly recruited. His name's Abdul Akim Ado, 6'11". He'll be a junior this year, and he is currently, I believe, the number 17th ranked center at his position. So it'll be great to see him. They got Coach Zach Farrell, very young coach, but coming out of CPA right there, the Drew Maddox, Nashville connections and everything. So I think that they're going to be arguably the most talented team in the area, and they'll be fun to watch.
Zach, that's all great information. That's why we got you here at River City Sports before someone else snatched you up, all your great coverage. But, folks, basketball is going to be just as great of a season. Also with wrestling will be just as great of a season. But we'll have all your coverage here for basketball all season long. We'll have the Roundup stronger than ever, having multiple players come down every Tuesday. We might be moving to a new date, would be on a Thursday. But, man, are we excited. I know our experts are excited. I know our RCS insider, Zach Kirby, is excited. He's the guy to go to with basketball in the area. Hit him up on his email. Hit him up on Twitter. He's also the editor for the Echo at UTC. Go get the UTC local paper and for the sports page. But we can't wait till basketball. But when we come back, we're going to preview our games coming up this week in Week 8 and also give you our pick'ems.
Dancing on the beat.
We welcome you back to the River City Roundup here, hosted by Jeffersons of Chattanooga and powered by Fame Media. Taylor, Ryan, Jay, got some great games in the area this week. We're going to kick it off with Tyner, who's sitting at 1-6, 1-2 in District 6 AA, versus Brainerd, who's 2-6 and 2-2 in the district. Tell me a little bit about the game, how you feel about it. Who's your pick?
Well, personally, I've seen Brainerd this year. I saw them when they played East Ridge, and I really like how they have not necessarily started out to the best start this season, but they're starting to come together as a team, rattling off a big win at East Ridge, big win last week. Tyner, I haven't seen them personally, but they've always, as long as I can remember, had, great athletes on the team, great district play. My pick for the game, guys, I'm going to have to go with Tyner. After their display last week against Howard, I just don't think that the Brainerd Panthers will have any answer for them.
Well, on my perspective of the game, I really like Tyner in this matchup. They are at home versus Brainerd. Chasen Patrick, Jalen Grimes, and Brandon Jackson looked at times where they just click and feed off one another. There's always fresh legs in the backfield for Wayne Turner's multiple wing T formations. They looked really good, and this is the time of the year that Tyner really gets going. Last year they rattled off 4 straight district wins, 4-2 in the districts, snuck in the playoffs, got out of the first round, and was able to play Upperman in a crazy game. But it's usually just that time of the year that Tyner gets going, so I like them in this game. How about you, Jake?
Tyner, we watched them last week, and they run a great offense. They have great athletes. Jalen Grimes and all them. But I'm gonna have to go Brainerd on this one. I just think Brainerd's got the better. They have a better group of athletes, I think, than Tyner does this year. I think Brainerd with Tevin Walker, and Kalen Stewart. I think the Panthers got this one.
What about you, Ryan?
Well, first off, I need to say that this is a must-win for both teams to stay relevant in that district. But I agree with Jake in the fact that Brainerd has more athletes, but I also don't think that Brainerd can match up with Tyner's physicality, and that's why I'm going Tyner in a close one.
Yeah, I like Keith Thomas on that offensive line for Tyner. But swinging it over, East Hamilton 1-6, 1-3 versus Asadi Daisy, who's dropped 2 the past week for the Trojans. 10 points to Ray County, who's undefeated, lost to McMinn County, who was 0-5 at the time, but they've kicked it up. They're 2-1 in their district now. Ryan, swinging over to you. Does your alma mater finally get going against a team they've had their number a couple seasons now, or does Hunter Maynard just pass all over the East Hamilton defense?
This has just been a nightmare year for East Hamilton. They've caught the injury bug more than any team I've seen so far. They've played a nightmare schedule, and it won't get any harder with a Saudi Daisy and the passing offense coming in. East Hamilton does have a good secondary to combat that with Logan Hammond and Martez Dura, but I don't think they have enough offensive firepower to put points up to match Saudi. I'm going with Saudi.
What about you, Jake?
Injury bug is one thing that you could say has been East Hamilton's. It's that, and it just doesn't seem like they've found their answer of where everyone needs to be just yet. And Saudi Daisy, they've dropped 2 close ones in a row. I'm gonna have to go with Saudi by at least 3 touchdowns. I don't think East Hamilton will put any pressure on Hunter Maynard and Carter and Blake Smith. And let's not forget Christian Bale. We haven't mentioned him at all. Christian Bale with the best name that they call Batman on the team.
Yep.
Gotta go with Batman. Gotta go Batman and the Trojans.
Well, Taylor, giving my 2 cents, I just think that Saudi Daisy is just a little bit too much on offense this year for East Hamilton. I do think it will be a little bit closer than you're saying, just because of, like Ryan said, the defensive backs there at East Hamilton who have not tossed in the towel yet because Coach Gatewood would not allow that. So I'm going Saudi Daisy, but close. What about you, Taylor?
Well, we kind of talked at Red Bank earlier. You said, Hunter Maynard right now he's not necessarily close, but he's within striking distance of breaking B.J. Coleman's record for passing in the area. I think he's averaging something like 300 and some odd yards a game. I don't see East Hamilton keeping this one close to go against what you said here. I really think Saudi Daisy runs away with this one.
That's right. He gives it to me this time.
Well, guys, we got Baylor, who's 5-2, 2-1 in their district, versus Brentwood Academy, who completely dismantled McCauley last week. Baylor is hosting Brentwood Academy. Brentwood Academy does have to travel all the way back down to Chattanooga, but do you see them just wiping the floor with Baylor again, or does Baylor put up a fight like they did last week when they traveled to play Oakland, gave Oakland everything they had?
Well, for me, I was at Brentwood McCauley last week. It honestly, it didn't seem like the bus trip down, the 2-hour travel, really gave Brentwood any trouble at all. And, that was just their first trip of the season. I think this week they'll be better at it. I think they put more on Baylor. I don't think this one's close. I think Brentwood wins it running away.
I also have Brentwood Academy. Nick Tiano does have a pretty good night, but I just think Brentwood's got a little bit too much for Baylor to handle on the offensive side or on the defensive side for that matter. So I got Brentwood Academy. Swinging over to you, Jake. Who do you have?
I hate to disagree with you guys all the time, but you just give me no choice. I think Baylor will pull this upset off, and it is going to be considered an upset. You never know in this anymore. I mean, we all thought Macaulay was going to beat Brentwood Academy pretty handily. We thought the Innsworth-Macaulay game was going to be kind of like a low-scoring yet decent affair, but that proved us wrong. So I just think to expect the unexpected. So I'm expecting Baylor to pull this one off. Nick Tiano, I think after last week, I think that close game to Oakland leaves a little bit of a bitter taste in your mouth. I think Baylor will win this game, but close.
I mean, guys, you have to wonder where Brentwood is mentally. I mean, they just beat the number one team in the state, and they're coming back to play a Baylor team that was blown out of the water by the same team. You have to wonder if they're going to come in thinking Baylor will just lay down for them, and I think it takes them a while to get going, and Baylor has a chance to sneak it out.
Well,
that being said, I'm still going with Brentwood in a close one.
Going with Brentwood Academy. Well, guys, now we're going to hit some of our speed round.
Okay.
We're going to hit probably about 5 games of our speed round. Got Sell Creek 0-7, 0-2 in their district, facing Whitwell, who is 4-4 and 1-2. Ryan, swinging over, who do you got in that game?
Whitwell.
Who do you got, Jake?
I'm gonna have to go with Whitwell as well. I'm not crazy enough to go Sell Creek yet.
I got Whitwell as well. I know that Ron Cox is really getting the Panthers where they need to be, just not right there yet. Who do you have, Taylor?
Guys, let me just correct you here. It's pronounced Wootwell. Wootwell. That's who I've got.
That's it. That's who you got. Well, the Battle of the Baptists come in Friday. Grace 1-6, 0-1 versus Silverdale 3-4, 0-1 in that district. Huge district implications there. It means a lot for a game we're going to talk about in a minute. But who do you have? 2 teams you used to tie knots with, Taylor.
In the Battle of the Baptist, guys, this may not be the conventional pick. I'm going to go with Grace Academy. I really like their chances against a Silverdale team that was scoreless against CCS. I'm going to go with Grace.
Well, guys, if Hunter Arnold isn't running the ball for Silverdale, I do like Grace Academy, and James Royale. So I'm going with Grace. Who do you have?
One thing with Silverdale I've noticed, they're really good at bouncing back from a loss. They've proven this year that they can bounce back. So I think I'm going to go with the Seahawks in a close one.
Who do you got, Ron?
Well, the key for Silverdale is they're going to have to play a whole lot more physical than they did last week. That being said, I think Silverdale has a lot more depth than Grace does, and I think that shows tonight, and they win this game by a couple scores.
Ryan, we're going to keep with you. Lookout Valley 1-6, 0-2 in their district, facing South Pittsburgh 3-4 and 0-2, coming off a loss to Boyd Buchanan. Who do you like in that game?
South Pittsburgh's coming off a close loss. I think they bounce back.
I'm going to have to go South Pittsburgh, but I think I'll say this: Lookout Valley will play them well. The scoreboard might not reflect it, but I think they play them well.
You know, Evan Walker's been playing since he's an 8th grader. He's battle tested, but I just think South Pittsburgh's got too much for Lookout Valley this week.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think last week really put a bad taste in South Pittsburgh's mouth. I hope I can say this on the show. I think they're going to be pissed off, and they're not going to leave anything left for Lookout Valley.
Well, guys, Cleveland 4-4, 3-1. They keep their hopes alive in that district, trying to keep up with Ottawa at Walker Valley 4-3, coming off a loss to Ottawa, who's 1-2. Who do you got, real quick?
Signal at CCS. I'm going to go with Signal. Is that
wait.
not where we
no,
were?
No, we're at Cleveland at Walker Valley.
Cleveland at Walker Valley. I'm sorry, guys, wasn't paying attention. I'm going to go with. Actually, I'm going to pick Walker Valley. I'm going to go with the Mustangs on this one.
What about you, Jake?
I think Cleveland has finally figured out what to do. I think Cleveland will win this one.
I also have Cleveland. I like what Austin Massey and T.J. Parker have been able to do.
It took half a season, but Cleveland's finally clicking. I've got Cleveland in this game.
Got Cleveland. Now we're moving up to Bradley, 2-5, 0-3, coming off a loss to a Cleveland who keeps clicking at midseason. McMinn County, who's caught their stride, 2-5, have won 2 straight district games. Who do you got, Taylor?
I'm going to go with Bradley on this one.
Going with Bradley. I'm going McMinn County and DJ Kempson. I like that running back up there for the Cherokees. Who do you have?
I gotta go with McMinn on this one. I mean, they beat a good Saudi Daisy team. I think McMinn they played probably one of the tougher schedules, and I think they're finally coming into their own as well. So I got McMinn by a touchdown.
Where's the game at?
The game is at McMinn County.
McMinn County's a much better team at home than they are on the road. I've got McMinn.
Got McMinn. Going McMinn. Okay. Central 5-2, 2-2 in that district, trying to keep their hopes alive in District 6AA, facing Howard, who's 0-7, 0-3, coming off a loss to Tyner. Guys, who you got real quick? I like the Central Pounders winning the most games they have in 3 seasons.
I'm gonna echo that. I think Central last week was a big win for those guys. I think they're going to continue it.
What about you, Jake?
I got Central. It's not even gonna be close. I got Central.
Central's offense finally got clicking. I've got Central big.
Got Central big. Well, guys, Notre Dame 6-1, 3-0 in that district. At Sequatchie, coming off a big win against Polk County, who was able to knock off the Irish last year. Sequatchie County on the other end, they are 3-4, 1-2, coming off a loss to Stone Memorial, I believe. The thing is, with Sequatchie County, they have Notre Dame, Boyd Buchanan, and Signal Mountain left. I don't know who scheduled the end of that season for them, but the Indians are, they've got an uphill battle. Taylor, who do you like out of Notre Dame, Sequatchie County?
I'm going to go with the Irish on this one. I really like how they've played so far this year. Alex Darris is starting to get it going. Austin Banks has been huge throughout the entire season. Cree Moore always. I mean, you have to find where he is during every play. I think Notre Dame is going to walk away with this one.
What about you, Jake?
There are 5 teams in the area that you just really can't pick against. Ottawa, Baylor, McCallie, Signal Mountain, Notre Dame. I learned from mistakes to not pick against them, especially in our game of the week. And Notre Dame, I don't think it's going to be close. Cree Moore and Alex Darris, they're just a connection you just can't miss.
I've said it before. I don't think Notre Dame loses another game this season.
Well, the thing that I really like is I said last week Alex Darris has to get more people involved in the offense. Ricky Ballard had 10 touches and 100 yards. Austin Banks touched the ball 1 time, 45 yards touchdown.
Yeah. That's all he needed.
That's all he needed. Kareem Moore did have a touchdown, but with that being said, he did get some more people in the passing game. Joe Enos is coming to his own. Defense as strong as always. I got the Irish. Now let's talk about Boyd Buchanan, 2-5, 1-0 in their district, coming off a big win against South Pittsburgh against Copper Basin, who was 4-3, 1-0, who was able to knock off Silverdale earlier in the year. Taylor, you know all about Boyd. You know some stuff about Copper Basin. Who do you got? Does Boyd continue to roll in that district like always?
Well, this one here, I think, will really boil down or will decide the district championship later down the road. I think Boyd Buchanan, coming off 2 big wins at home versus Grays and at South Pittsburgh, are starting to get into their rhythm after starting off the season just horribly. I really think that this one will be very, very close, decided by maybe a point or two, but I have the Bucks in this one.
I also have the Bucks. I like Cooper Hodge. They had a 4-year starter at quarterback in Jim Cardwell.
Yeah.
He kind of picked up where Jim Cardwell left off last week. He kind of gave that run pass element that Cardwell brought to the table. Jake, who do you like?
I'm gonna have to go with Boyd on this one. I mean, they've proven that they had one of the tougher schedules, like some of these teams in the area that started off 0-5. And Boyd, I think they're on the verge of finishing the season 5-5. And Copper Basin, they did beat Silverdale, but that win's not looking as strong as it did. So I got to go with the Bucks on this one.
What about you, Ron?
Boyd is a much better team than their schedule shows. I think them getting rolling against South Pittsburgh, I think they're just going to keep riding the momentum through this.
Well, guys, now we hit Signal Mountain 6-1, 2-1 in their district versus CCS 4-3, 1-2. Before we preview our game of the week between the Red Bank Lions hosting the Hickson Wildcats, who do you have? Does Signal Mountain bounce back? Have they overcome the loss of Sky Wilson?
Well, to kind of echo what I said earlier when I screwed up in the show here, I'm going to go with Signal Mountain. I really think that the offense, losing Sky Wilson is a huge blow to them, but Jack Teeter's a great quarterback they've got there. They've got backs for days. I really don't think this one's going to be that difficult for the Eagles.
I also like Signal Mountain bouncing back. Even though CCS does have some good things going for them, I just think they're a couple years away from being real competitive. What about you, Jake?
I mean, Ryan, you said that Notre Dame's not going to lose Notre Dame this season. Signal Mountain's not going to lose Notre Dame this season. Signal Mountain, they're going to win big against CCS.
Who do you have, Ron?
I also have Signal winning big.
Well, guys, it's that time of the show every week. We preview our game of the week. Not to mention, before we get there, a couple of teams, Ottawa, McCauley, and East Ridge are all on a bye this week. Much needed byes for them. East Ridge kind of getting healthy. McCauley kind of getting regrouped, and Ottawa just getting rested for the next game. But Taylor, we were at Red Bank today, playing Hickson. We'll be at Hickson tomorrow. Guys, tell me who you like in this game, what you like from it, maybe a key to the game, Taylor.
Well, a key to the game for me is going to be the quarterback play from the Red Bank Lions. Last week, I think you said they had 4 different guys take snaps under center. They're kind of struggling at times to find the solid part of that role, the guy that they're going to stick in there and stay with him. I think if quarterback play can improve, can get rolling in that game, also if the defense can stop a Hickson offensive line that may be one of the best in the area, I think that will be big for Red Bank. My pick, however, sorry guys, I'm going to go with the Hickson Wildcats in this one.
Jake, what about you?
That'll be tough. I'm gonna might have to say my pick for the end because I think Ryan should go ahead. I got to think of the headgear to go with it. It's tough for me right now.
And Ryan, you were able to see Hickson when they battled real tough against Bradley Central, came up short. Hickson did get beat through the air primarily against Saudi Daisy. Who wins this game, Ryan?
Well, I've got a key for Hickson at Red Bank. My key for Hickson is, first off, they have to contain Malik Davis. When Malik Davis gets in that Wildcat and starts running around, he can make plays in a heartbeat. They've got to make sure they contain him. And for Red Bank, they've got to match Hickson's physicality. I think they're going to rely heavily on Trey Stamper, who, I'll say this to anyone, everyone wants to talk about Malik Davis. Trey Stamper is the MVP of that football team.
Well, I like it. Who are you going with?
This is a tough one, but I'm going to go with Red Bank. I think Malik Davis busts a play or two.
Well, Jake, whose headgear are you getting before? I mean, I can go ahead and give my 2 cents on it. Are you still stumbling a little bit?
Before I'm gonna have to say this. With Hickson, Hickson's they got to worry about like Ryan said, they got to worry about Malik Davis. They've shown when it comes to a guy that's a pure athlete that can run by, they're not that great. I mean, Trey Carter ran circles around Hickson, literally ran in a circle around Hickson and took it 80 yards the other way. But then again, they've improved to 5-2, and possibly going to win the district. I love Coach Grabowski at Red Bank. I want the Lions to do good. I picked them to win it, but the season changes. Taylor, give me that
Want me
helmet.
to help you
Give me that helmet.
There you go.
And it's comfortable too, and this one actually fits my head. I thought it did. There we go. Oh, it's a good fit.
Oh,
It
Jake.
fits right. The veer works, everybody. The veer works if you run it right.
Well, Jake's going to go with the Hickson Wildcats. I will say this. It is at Red Bank. We agree with you, Ryan. We finally decided that Red Bank does have the nicest view of any school in Chattanooga on the basin of that of Signal Mountain playing down there. But, the concerns that Red Bank has at quarterback and the inconsistency they've had there, can they beat Hickson vertically? I don't think they can do it. I'm going to go with the Wildcats, and it likely the Wildcats to go on and win that district. Really surprises me. I'm not usually stumped, but hey, I was stumped this year. I've now learned, as like you said, Jake, not to bet against me when I'm picking Notre Dame. It's hard for me not to bet against Hickson anymore because they've proven me wrong. They bought into Dan Duff's system. Catch us there at 7:30 as the Hickson Wildcats travel to Red Bank and face on the Lions. Both teams 3-0 in their district. Big implications, big weekend, guys. Playoff spots are on the line. Can't get anything better than this. Always, we'll be here at Jeffersons at Chattanooga, across from the courthouse every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Maybe getting the start a little bit early depending on what our partners here at Jeffersons are doing. Always check out all our RCS Insiders on Facebook or Twitter. You can follow all of them. We have the latest coverage. Also, a great thank you to Fame Media and everything they do for us. But we'll see y'all at the game Friday, Red Bank versus Hickson.